Saturnastra, let me see, what was the chapter? Chapter 27. The reception. The servants entered the scene and started picking out the altar and all the chairs, and the guests went to sit in the banquet area to enjoy the feast. All the peasant weddings involve a feast as soon as the couple was married. For the wedding, the oven servants prepared 7 fried pork, 20 honey chickens, 20 cooked salmons, and 5 turkeys. And he sat beside his little wife, and they prepared their meal in stony silence. Eleanor was in a bit moody, and the whole marriage scene was not as her mother had painted it. She had half frightened Eleanor with tales of the bedchamber and what was to be expected of being a wife. And he was in a foul mood but for a different reason. And he placed the chicken leg down and wiped his face with a napkin. And he had been eating the leg, bones and all. And Cassiopeia at the moment whispered something into Eleanor's ear, and Eleanor then tacitly pointed to the silverware and then said to him, "Darling, this is a formal occasion. Do you mind using the silverware?" And he got up from his yacht and he walked outside the banquet hall, and Monkey King followed after his brother. Eleanor pouted her lips and frowned, and the Azura tapped her nose, and one of her zombies nodded. And the zombie got up on the table with a wine bottle and he started singing. "All the south of Australia is my native home. Heave hey, repeated the other zombies. The singing served as a nice way to ease the tension created by the groom's sudden departure, and Karina took this chance to speak with Cassiopeia, and she rose from her feet and tapped her on the shoulder. Cassiopeia seemed a bit startled by Karina's sudden appearance behind her, even though the maiden had simply walked there. Karina had a way of moving silently when she was in a mind to sneak up on someone, and in a stern voice she said, we must talk in private." Cassiopeia nodded and left with Karina, and Eleanor breathed a sigh of relief the second her mother left, and her eyes watered when she saw his empty seat, and she deeply regretted what she had said to him. And those of us that followed after he were privy to the reason why he's in a foul mood. He had wandered into the fruiting trees of the plantation, and Monkey King had followed close behind. He stopped and sat down under the shade, and his brother sat beside him, and then he said to his brother, "I know what the cage bird sings." "So you know that," said Monkey King, pretending to understand. "Was it really necessary crushing the bones and breaking of the water at the river banks?" asked he in a moody mood. And Monkey King laughed heartily when he heard his brother's nonsense. Needless to say, we could not follow the gist of the conversation. And he smiled when he heard his brother laughing, and he continued, "Worst comes to worst, I will have 200 sheep, and we shall be led like lambs to the slaughter." "You don't have to send them to the slaughter, my dear brother," responded Monkey King. "Perhaps," responded he. "If I do not, then how will the wild lily regain her autonomy?" "If we think it over a bit, then the slaughter may become seen as a sign of mercy, perhaps," commented Monkey King. "Now I understand what he meant when he said that the girl can be blonde or black, but never blind," answered he in a pouty mood. And Monkey King then said in a serious tone, Then you will have to see for both yourself and Eleanor." Both were silent for a few minutes, and the silence crowned all their surroundings, and he looked up when he heard the sound of ruffling leaves, and Eleanor was searching the grounds for him, and she waved to him and said apologetically, "Mama said that she was going home early, and can you come back to the party? I'm sorry I embarrassed you." I said, "Well, you know, my mother." And Monkey King got up and he patted her head, and then he returned to the banquet hall. He looked at Eleanor from head to toe, and the poor girl was furrowing a cloth from her dress, and her face was downcast and her eyes pouted, almost as if she had cried recently. He rose from the ground and he said to her, "I'm sorry, Eleanor." And Eleanor looked up surprised by his apology, and he seemed about to say something else, but then he swiftly went to stand before her, and his eyes went glassy as he hugged Eleanor, and he kissed her on the cheek, and it was a sort of hug a child gives to a teddy bear he loves. And then he said to her, "I love you, Eleanor." Eleanor felt the hug slightly a little strong, and she winced in pain and pushed he away, and she giggled and said, "You're such a weird kid, and Mother was right. Maybe we should have waited till you were older to marry." Eleanor, you don't know I'm not human," said he in a serious tone. "You're right, I sometimes forget," answered Eleanor, patting his head, and she looked up towards the party and said, "Even so, this may be my last chance to get married. And why did you leave without me?" I don't know, I left because I was asked by my brother to remain on standby, said he. And what's that supposed to mean? Asked Eleanor, shrugging his shoulders. I don't know, I'm supposed to be battle ready in case of an emergency, but nothing has turned up yet, and most of the time I'm just pegging little things here and there. Answered he, staring at his shoes. It's just that I don't want to be left out of the little mission, if only. Eleanor parted her lips after hearing his ramblings that grew like the noise went down a little. And she was uncertain as to what she was supposed to say. He took her hand and he led her back into the banquet hall. And the area had been converted into a ballroom. Both joined the dancing couples without saying a word. And the Asura and the zombies had done a hostile takeover of the music of the band. And she had been playing a waltz she called Streams of Lava. And waltzes were another one of those anachronistic music genres introduced by King Bersamin. It had become standardized among the nobles, and the higher band had very limited selection. And since the Yago family wanted to play nobles, they had learned the dance. Monkey King was dancing with one of the zombie girls, and Loki was admiring a glass of wine. He was not drinking per se, rather he was looking at something reflecting off its surface. And during the dance, Eleanor asked he, "What do you believe in?" "Huh?" asked he, confused. "I mean, like your gods. Who do you worship?" insisted Eleanor. "What do you want to know?" inquired he. "Mama was just curious, and then she got me curious, and I don't believe in Lara, Arasa, or whatever. I just did the rituals to make my mother happy," continued Eleanor. "Pity, because your gods really do exist," commented he. "They do? Then how come I don't see or hear them?" asked Eleanor, looking over her shoulder. "Your eyes are not as sharp as mine," said he, widening his eye. "And they're not here right now, and I think Lara was there during your communion, but then she went home. And Arasa comes to check up on your pulse from time to time, and aside from those two, there were no other close encounters with the divine kind." "I don't get it," whined Eleanor, and she took a deep breath and then said, Is it okay if I believe in nothing?" "I do not see any problem in believing in nothing. I do believe in nothing," said he, smiling. Eleanor breathed a sigh of relief, and then she whispered, "And don't tell Mother I believe in nothing, and she'll get mad at me, and she'll probably give you a whipping for encouraging me to not believe in anything." And he shrugged his shoulders and then said, "Whatever, Eleanor. It's not like I ever spoke to your mother." I suppose you're right. I don't remember you ever having a conversation," mused Eleanor. After a few more dances, Eleanor felt a bit tired, and she went with her to sit on one of the many sofas that had been brought out to the gardens. And she looked out to gaze at the falling white flowers, and he sniffed the air and commented on the weather. It looks like it's going to rain soon." "Oh, how dreadful. And how solid is the structure you made? Will the water get inside?" asked Eleanor, looking up to the clear blue sky. "If the storm bothers you, I can take it up with management," said he, pointing to the sky. Eleanor shook her head and said nothing, and as he had predicted, a storm fell over Praga. The wind swept over the leaves and flowers, which started splashing against the crystal surface, and some of the leaves went crept within, since the structure was not air sealed. And he had left 4 corners of the cross without any glass to allow fresh air to enter, and now with a storm these holes were creating quite the mess. He enjoyed the chaos of nature, and he got up and walked to the center of the cross to get a better look at the darkening sky. And he stretched his hand up to the sky and started laughing, and Loki shocked and looked up, and he intercepted Monkey King's dancing partner and took her place, and for such a serious fellow he had a weird sense of humor. And the pair danced away out of the structure and into the manor. And the next was to vacate the premises with the Asura and her little zombie crew. And it lasted 5 minutes as Zombie vacated the premises without the human noticing. Suddenly a lightning bolt fell on a nearby tree, and its sound raised all of the drunken party members out of the stupor, and they quickly ran towards the manor, featuring another lightning strike. And the tree caught fire quickly, but thankfully the torrent of rain quickly put it out. And the falling lightning caused quite a commotion, and since there wasn't a covered walkway from the garden to the manor, all of the assembled were soaked to the bone. And when the commotion started, he carried Eleanor back into the manor, and the poor girl clung to his head and neck like a frightened wet kitten, and she realized when she was safely inside the portico of her home. And before going inside, he untangled himself from Eleanor's frenzied grasp, and he removed his wet shoes and placed them in the front of the entrance. And he also removed his wet cloak and squeezed the water out of his hair. He was the only person who bothered to do so before entering the manor. and with a little more composure, Eleanor imitated Ahi, and she removed her shoes and her veil, and she brushed back her hair and squeezed as much water as she could from the skirt of her wedding dress. And a strong wind passed right through her, making her sneeze. Eleanor Harvey was trembling from head to toe, and she was intercepted in the doorway by the maid. And the maid took Eleanor to get her change, and as usual, his presence was completely ignored by everyone but Eleanor, and a towel fell on his head, and gazing up, he saw his brother dangling from the chandelier. As he dried his hair with the towel, and monkishly then handed him his brother a change of clothing. As he went inside the manor and found an empty washroom to change, and when he came out, he wore the black marble that he had spotted the day he entered the Orna's funeral. Eleanor entered the scene wearing her usual pink dress, and the evening was spent a bit calmer, and by dusk the elves had whipped out dinner for the guests, and it was originally planned that most of the guests would stay at the inn. And despite being murmured, the Zombies insisted on staying inside the manor, and the zombie children on the Miota had gone to swim in the river, and since they were the apex predators, they had no fear of being attacked by feral dragons. And after dinner they came in the final stage of the wedding, and it was symbolic removal of Eleanor from the household, and his party was supposed to escort Eleanor to her new home, and her things were already fully packed. And when the servants went to pick up her luggage, they were surprised to find the entire room missing, and the room had been sliced in a perfect geometrical shape, and this change had occurred when no one was looking in the direction of Eleanor's room. And the elves were busy on the field, and those servants in the kitchen near him had passed out in the stair, and the zombie instinct had warned them to stay away from the maiden's room. And as for us, we were too busy with the dinner to notice any changes, and Iago was in the midst of reading a book in the library when the servants informed him of the weird damage. And the messenger said, Eleanor's room is gone, and without looking up from his reading, he answered, Oh, thank you for informing me, carry on with your duties. And by now, Monkey and Caria and the Azor and Loki had gone to the stables to fetch their mounts, and the path to the stable was lit by torches. And based on their memories, it always took Ahi 10 to 20 minutes to pack his things, and therefore we were expecting Ahi to come to the stable soon. When Ahi packed up everything and nailed to the floor, Eleanor went to say goodbye to her sister, and she found them chatting in the sitting room. Eleanor hugged her sister in tears in her eyes, and her sister returned the hug without much enthusiasm. And Elena said to Eleanor, Don't cry, this is what you want, and remember. And Gwen and Tatiana said, Baby sis, we promised to visit you as often as we did before, when you moved to your new home. And Eleanor then said, I'm just so very happy, thank you for everything. And after saying their goodbyes, Eleanor went outside to the patio to wait for Ahi, and when Ahi was out of earshot, Tatiana said to Elena, Thank God that we finally got her married. And to our rich brat, no doubt, commented Elena. Some people do not know the true value of things, said Tatiana, sadly fiddling with her diamond necklace. That's your sister you're talking about, revealed Elena, pointing at Tatiana, said, Yes, yay, so happy for her. And the chicha was interrupted by Iago, and he had overheard the little conversation, and he shook his head and brushed his hair back, and then he asked his sister, Where's Eleanor? She went outside to wait for her husband. And he still has a few more things he wishes to do, said Elena without much enthusiasm. And Tatiana added, He's taking a lot of things from your home, uncle. Is he even allowed to do them? You try and stop him, snorted Elena. And what is he reading? And Iago interrupted the shadow again and said, He can take whatever he likes. His real estate is worth 10 times the amount of poultry sum he's stealing from me. Oh yeah, about that. And have you gotten any actual money from those things? And Mama was a bit sketchy about this whole marriage thing. And I still remember the negotiation for my marriage, and it was so complicated, said Elena, frowning while flapping her fan. I, as a messenger, brought the promised son 2 hours ago during dinner, and he brought the money for the rent on those properties, said Iago, yawning here. It's getting late, and I'm going to talk to Eleanor. You should be heading home to bed soon. Good night, uncle, said Tatiana, laughing, and Iago found Eleanor sitting in the couch in the portico, and she was sleepily observing the passing of the fireflies. And he sat beside her and waited for her to notice his presence. Eleanor smiled at Iago when she noticed it, and when he got her attention, he said, If you need anything, money, food, clothing, shelter, you can write to me. I know, uncle, said Eleanor, smiling. You can come home at any time, continued Iago. I'll be fine, giggled Eleanor. Ahi is a lot of ahi, and you at least know how to pretend to be a normal human being, and try to keep that insane husband of yours from getting himself into trouble, said Iago, taking Eleanor's hand. And before Eleanor could reply, the conversation was interrupted by Ahi, and it seemed to Iago that Ahi had materialized out of thin air. And he started both Eleanor and Iago when he asked, Anything else you want to take? The size of the island is of no concern. You got everything from my room, asked Eleanor. Yes, I got the entire room, answered Ahi. My piano, my sketches, my book, and the box with the bird on top, insisted Eleanor, counting the items with her finger. Yes, 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 answered Rahim. Ah, my maid, did you pack her things? Asked Eleanor, playing with the folds of her dress. No, answered Rahim. Well, get to it, said Eleanor, gesturing with her hand. No, said Rahim, friendly. Huh, said Eleanor, squinting her eyes. And what do you mean by no? No, as in no, snapped he, snapping his feet twice on the ground. Oh, but then who's going to do my hair? Who's going to dress me and feed me? Asked Eleanor. Your maid, answered Rahim. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I hear you're making it even less sense than usual, interrupted Diego. If you want her, I'm not opposed to adopting her. And continued Rahim. I am not following, please, he tried to make sense. And why won't you take Eleanor's servant with you? And he simply shrugged his shoulders, not desiring to get into details. And to resolve this matter, Diego ordered Eleanor's maid to come. And the maid was a slave called Madonna. Pronounced Madonna. It's like Ma space Donna, because like her last name is Donna. Her name used to give a lot to laugh at, and the other names were composite, and the first syllable or the two syllables were the name, and the last two represented their clan. And they usually used the entire name when referring to one another, and for that reason the humans used to think that the elves did not have a last name. And the Donna clan was the slave class, and the majority of the elves in this continent belonged to that clan. And with her usual disdain, Madonna bowed before asking Iago how might be of service to their master. He does not feel like packing your things, so get to it. You're leaving with Eleanor, ordered Iago. I am already packed, answered Madonna, and she had anticipated this turn of events. He then said to Ahi, the elf is good to go, and when you're ready, the two of you can head out. And Ahi looked at Madonna and frowned, and the elf did not deem Ahi worthy of her attention, and in the end Ahi said to Madonna, you don't have to come with us if you don't want to. Whether she wants to or not is irrelevant, Ahi, or don't you get with the concept of slavery, said Iago in a serious tone. He thought a moment, and then he said, as there is someone whom by the laws of causality have been led to that person becoming the property of another, and in this condition a person forfeits their free will, and they are puppets for the use and pleasure of their master. And Iago smiled when he heard this definition, and then he said, how very eloquent, and yet. At the moment, Monkey King brought out to the manor, and he asked what's the hold up, and Iago got up and said to Monkey, he's having some issues with that slave girl. Of course he is. The blueprints forbid ownership of slaves, answered Monkey King to bring the argument to a close, and Madonna then slightly suggested, if you pay me, then I technically become a servant instead of a slave. And just pay the wench so we can go already, snapped Monkey King. And he reached into his pocket and paid Madonna, and Iago then said to him, give me the money and I will hold on to it for her. And Madonna narrowed her eyes but said nothing, and he gave Iago 2 golden coins. Iago was disappointed that he did not get any money, but he said nothing. When everything was packed, he went with Eleanor and Madonna to the stables, and a cabin had been prepared for them, and the Asura was driving it. He took Eleanor's hand and guided her inside the carriage, and he was about to do the same for Madonna. However, she did not allow him to take her hand. He gave her a warm smile, and for an instant a thin smile was painted on her lips as well, and when she was inside, he went to fetch Horsey. And he was about to put the saddle when Horsey said, tonight is a nice night, and I'm not in the mood for wearing a saddle. Oh, well, said he, putting the saddle away. He sat beside his sister since the horse wasn't in a mood to be ridden, and when everyone was set and ready to go, the Asura snapped the reins to get the horses in motion. And Karina and Loki were waiting for them on the outskirts of town. And the guards opened the gate for them to ride out, and once outside, the Asura asked the obvious question, so which way is your house or whatever he at the moment? And he thought a moment while he tried to ponder where he had last left his home, where he had his homestead.